All right, here we go. I'm going to call the Tuesday, September 22nd, 2020, 7 p.m. regular board meeting to order. Ms. Grahowski, could you please call roll?
Mr. Craig?
Here.
Mr. Estheimer?
Yes, present.
Mr. Freitas?
Here.
Mr. Green?
Here.
Mr. Lamos?
Yes.
Dr. Pomponio?
Here.
Mr. Sage?
Here.
Thank you, everyone. We have a quorum. And now if we could please say the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Southgate's mission statement, Learning for Life. Vision statement, Southgate Community Schools, the best choice for students and parents. Moves us to item D, revisions and approval of our agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Dr. Pomponio. Do we have a second? Who was that? Mr. Sage. Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, could you roll call vote, please, Ms. Grahowski?
Mr. Freitas?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Lamos?
Yes.
Dr. Pomponio?
Yes.
Mr. Sage?
Yes.
Mr. Craig?
Yes.
Mr. Estheimer?
Yes. Thank you. We have an agenda. Move this item E, citizens' comments. Did we have any citizens' comments tonight, Ms. Pastor?
Yes, we have one.
All right. Would you like to read that for us?
Yes, it's from Shannon Swager. She says the staff of the school district should be celebrated in all they are doing to meet the needs of students and families during this time of remote learning. Everyone is working around the clock, giving hours upon hours of personal time, and it does not go unnoticed, starting from the top down. I do want to just talk in a bit more detail of the teaching staff, particularly the staff at Ford Line Elementary School, where all three of my children attend. I have always had faith in the educators and staff at Ford Line, but they have completely blown me away in these first 11 days of school. The dedication to finding the best way to help students navigate through this journey when they are essentially building the airplane as they are flying it is nothing short of inspiring. I have witnessed the relationships that are already being established, even in a virtual manner. The staff is going out of their way to plan breakout sessions within the lessons to encourage students to form bonds with peers. They are rearranging schedules to have one-on-one time with students to not only work on academics, but to check in on social and emotional health of them as well. The balancing act that is taking place is incredible. My children are eager to learn, feel respected and cared for, and are becoming more independent at the new routine each day, all because of the work that is being put in on the other end by staff. What more could a parent ask for? I'd like to close by saying thank you. Thank you to the board for continuing to put safety of the students and staff first when forming hard decisions. Thank you to the administration for providing the unwavering leadership that is so desperately needed. And thank you to the staff and teachers for doing whatever it takes on a daily basis to be amazing superheroes. You all are.
Thank you. Thank you for those comments. Item F, presentations. Looks like we put Mr. Kokoski, it looks like Rob's number one today, not put him on the back bench. Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. You're going to discuss some a bond dashboard with us.
Yes. So if you remember from the last bond program, we used a dashboard that we presented to you guys periodically through the course of the project and construction to kind of update you on the progress that we had going on. And then we use that tool to post on the website and stuff to keep the community up to date. So today I wanted to review with you. This is our initial one, kind of get started, walk through it a little bit with you. And then we'll move forward with this, every so often, whether it's monthly or quarterly, depending on exactly what's going on at the time. We will present these back to you. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. Let's see. All All right. Hopefully you guys can see that. All right. So it does change. It does look a little bit different from the last one that we had provided to you. We've changed it a little bit company wide and kind of standardized and reformatted since a couple years ago when we were presenting these. So it's a lot of the same information on here, just laid out a little bit different for you. So this top corner here is the goals and objectives, and this information is really pulled from a lot of the campaign information that we had in the marketing and some of the goals that were set up, some of the main focuses on the bond program when it was set up. So, whole child, whole school, whole community. Just a reminder, the overall bond program budget's $59.475 million. It was a 0 rate tax increase. Some of the main goals: every student could be impacted within 2 years, help the district foster a whole community of learners, including students, staff, parents, and residents. Safety and security enhancements to ensure student administrators, visitors are entering a safe and secure environment. Preserve the educational facilities and infrastructure. Update technology for 21st century learning, and support the fine arts and fitness programs, which help foster emotional and physical well-being of students. So this will be something, kind of the main focus that'll always be on this front page of the dashboard, just as a reminder of the overall goals and objectives of the bond program from the start. So we get to this section. This is a snapshot of the project summary of costs. So right now we have it broken down into basically 5 buckets or 5 projects initially set up. And then as the project continues, this section will grow. Initially, we set it up with these 4, the district-wide, the construction, the roofing, and the technology are the 4 main buckets where the bond budget is broken down into. And then as we get projects that get going throughout the way, we will get them set up like you see this turf replacement project. When we start the pool or the weight room or the renovations at the elementary schools, we'll continue to get additional projects here. The overall project budget won't change, but you'll see the commitments, the actual approvals, the cost to complete, all this information will be updated for each of those projects. So it'll all be a quick overall snapshot of where we are with each project along the way. The bottom graph basically just represents that table up above. So it's got the 5 projects, gives you kind of a circular graph to show you a percentage of money committed versus what's remaining in the budget for each of those projects. So again, we'll have this section will continue to grow as the additional projects get started here over the course of the next 3-4 years. And then the cash flow and finances section just gives a snapshot of cost of dollars where we're at. So if you remember, this is a 2 series bond program. So the construction fund deposit right now is just for series 1. So it's showing you $32,217,000 for total funds available. And then it shows actuals paid, current funds available, and actuals spent per e-builder. So again, all 3 of these are financials, but they give you some different snippets, and depending on when exactly reports are run, they may vary slightly a little bit, but gives you a couple different snippets of the financial overall, the bond program. We go to the back page, kind of gets into a little bit more of the project specific stuff. So we split it up into 3 sections. In the upper right-hand corner, we kind of outlined a project phasing schedule just to remind everybody with this project going for 4 or 5 years. What are some of the high-level scope of work at each of the buildings? So you can see in 2020, we're doing the Anderson turf replacement, and we're looking to get the baseball field drainage installed out there. 21, we'll be doing the Anderson High School natatorium and weight room. Ford Line and Grogan, architectural, mechanical, electrical renovations. Davidson, we're looking at doing restrooms and classroom doors. And then we'll be doing some roofing replacements and technology upgrades. And again, it outlines for 22, 23, and 24. So one caveat here with the 2 series, we do have a year gap between the 2 series. So in 2023, right now, there's no intended construction activity, but we will be working on design for the Series 2 renovations. So this may change slightly depending on what happens, but this really follows the bond program, the outline that we had, and we'll stay current so everybody can kind of see where we're at. Looking at a 3-month schedule overview of what we got going on. So kind of broke it down into some of the different projects. So we have the turf replacement project is essentially wrapped up out there. We are looking to just really close out that project. Waiting on a couple things just to wrap up, and hopefully in October we'll have that finalized. Then we can report back to you guys overall where we are with the budget and changes, and close that project out. The baseball field drainage, we are working on getting the pricing finalized right now, and then look to move forward with that here in October, get that done. The Auditorium addition and weight room, TMP, the architect, is finalizing the schematic design documents. Here in October, we'll have those wrapped up, and then Granger, our construction manager, will be working on their schematic design estimate. And then as they're working on that estimate, TMP will start the design development phase, which is the next step in design to kind of further us along. So they'll be doing that through the month of October. Ford Line, Grogan, and Davidson are kind of in the same path. TMP is going to finalize the schematic design documents. Granger will have this estimate done, and then TMP again will start the design documents. And roofing, we are right now looking to get a roofing consultant on board. We're going to be issuing an RFP here pretty soon in the next few days. So in October, we'll be bringing a award recommendation to you guys for a roofing consultant, so we can start looking at some of the roofing projects that we want to do over the course of the next couple years. We get into November, again, the Auditorium work and Ford Line, Grogan, and Davidson are continuing with design. So I just kind of tried to lay out each of the steps. Granger will be finishing up their schematic design estimate. We'll be coming to you guys with a presentation to show you guys where we're at in schematic design, probably have some renderings, some drawings, budget, all that overlook, schedule update, let you know where we're at with the Auditorium in the weight room. And then TMP will continue with design. Get the Ford Line, we'll be finalizing the design development documents, and Granger will be working on the estimate, and then roofing will be investigating and starting to put our design documents together for whatever projects we are going to bid out for next summer. December, we're looking to continue with design documents and for both the pool and Ford Line, Grogan. So nothing real exciting. It's just continuing with design through the multiple steps for each of those. Same with the roofing. So get a little bit more information, a little bit more excitement here in the coming months when we get a little bit further along. But right now we are really pushing on design and budgets and estimates. So then down at the bottom, just included a couple pictures of the pretty sweet new looking field out there that you guys have with the complex overall, the track, the bleachers, the turf, all that. Really do a Google Earth image of what it looked like 4 years ago or 5 years ago compared to this. It looks pretty awesome. So showed a couple of those aerials that the designer had taken a couple weeks ago when they brought out their drone to take some photos for you. So that bottom section will just kind of update photos of progress of things that are happening along the way. So kind of our new format, 2 pages. The last one was 1 page, had a lot of the same information, just kind of crammed in a little bit more. But we'll continue to present this to you guys continuously through the next few years.
Thanks, Rob. Hey, listen, could you send that to us, or send it to Jill and she can put it in our drive for us? And then in the future, if you can get this to us ahead of the meeting, because it's very hard to see on the screen right now.
Right.
Oh, is it? Okay.
All right.
Yep, I will.
All right.
I will get
Any
that
other
out
questions?
to you guys.
Thank you for your
question.
presentation. Go ahead,
I have a
Dr.
couple
Pamponio.
So with everything happening in the next few years, we're going to have enough for the pool, correct?
Enough money?
Yeah, because I thought it would be on the dashboard, is even at the front, so people can see, yes, we're working on it. So if I was a parent saying, wow, I wonder if the pool's on there, because we're going to have an addition too, right? For the pool. Okay,
Yep,
so I was just wondering about.
Yeah, all your construction funds right now for work are in this line item right now. Once we get that project finalized and we're bring it to you for approval, it'll have its own project here, and it'll say pool and weight room addition, budgeted at $10 million, and then it'll show you it'll track the costs all along the way. So,
Okay.
yeah, that is one of the first things we are working on when we look at the phasing schedule. We're looking to break ground on that next year, 2021, and that'll be going on for 21 and 22.
Okay, that sounds good. And what kind of changes are we expecting for Ford Line, the mechanical, and what can we expect for that building?
Yeah, basically all your elementary schools are getting very similar scopes of work. We are working on roofing. We'll do a lot of the buildings had partial roofs done in the first bond, so we're looking to do the rest of the roof sections. There'll be a little bit of exterior renovations, a little bit of site concrete and stuff, depending on what school it is. Some schools have a little bit more needs than others, but kind of doing the rest of the concrete that wasn't done last time. There's a big focus on bathroom renovations, mechanical and electrical systems, so new boilers, new rooftop units, any of the mechanical that didn't get replaced in the last bond. We're looking to replace any of that this time. We are looking at putting LED lighting in the classrooms, flooring in the classrooms. That was a big item at all the elementary schools. We're getting new flooring in the classrooms. And then new window, we're looking at installing security egress windows in each of the classrooms as well at the elementary schools. So along with technology and some furniture and video surveillance and stuff that'll be going on along with the construction. So
that sounds good. And just like a quick overview of what can we expect for the fine arts, like in our bond program for the fine arts?
So we haven't got to, most of that's at Anderson, and that's in series 2. So I haven't looked at that in a little bit, but I know we are looking at doing the auditorium seats, doing a little bit of upgrades to the acoustic slats that are there now, maybe with some new sound panels or something along those lines. We're looking at doing a little bit of electrical upgrades in there, a little bit of work to the stage. But I think the main thing really was the seats and flooring maybe in there.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
No problem.
I just want to make sure that you remember that we just spent about $260,000 on instruments for the marching band and our band program.
Right. Yep.
I just
Are
had
any other questions for Rob?
I had one, Tim.
Yeah.
Rob, you mentioned a punch list for the field. Can you give us an idea of what those things are?
Actually, all of the punch list items were corrected that were found. I think they were just little seaming, spots if they've seen a loose seam or anything. The main thing we're waiting on is the goalpost pads to finish that up. I think the flagpole got installed recently. They're supposed to be delivering the flag out there tomorrow to you guys, so you have that. And then the goalpost pads, we're waiting on those, and those are set to ship in a couple weeks. So we got everything finalized with those, and we're waiting on them right now.
But the integrity of the field with the seam fix is good?
Yep.
Excellent.
Yep. There was anything that was on the punch list. It was all corrected that day when the designer was on site walking. So unfortunately, I wasn't there that day, but they corrected everything on site. The restoration has all been done out there. So they're working, they got all that done, but yeah, nothing else on the punch list is outstanding for any work.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the chair.
Mr. President, I do have a question, please.
Go ahead, Mr. Sage.
So looking at the rendering when we initially approved this, and don't get me wrong, I think the field looks great. Been on it. It feels good. Everything's great, but I don't feel it's what we paid for. We had more of a two-tone feel to it, and from the rendering that we approved compared to what we're seeing at these aerials, it looks completely different. I talked a little bit to Jill about this, and I don't know if it's a conversation for right now, but I want to make sure we're getting exactly what we paid for, which was a two-tone field, and it doesn't look like that's what it is.
We have, yes, we are aware of that. We had a meeting out there this week with the installer and the designer. We are waiting for some information back from the contractor, and then we will be bringing that back to the district to review and talk about next steps moving forward with what we do with that. So It is definitely something that is being addressed. I don't know the outcome right now of what that will be, but we had a lengthy meeting this week, and we're waiting for some options from them right now to address, and we'll circle back with you guys.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else have any questions for Rob?
Rob, was that part of the punch list?
It was not on the punch list per se. It was brought up after, as we were looking at some of the aerials and stuff. And yes, we do have the lighter green turf is not to the exact specs as far as the mix between light and dark in there that was originally called out. So that was not caught at the walkthrough, but it was caught, and we've addressed it with them, and we're just waiting for some responses on that. So as far as anything being complete, I mean, the installation is complete. So, punch list is, there's no open items that are holding that field from being used or anything. But we are addressing the color issue right now.
But we currently have not paid the vendor for the services, or we have?
They're not paid in full yet. They've had monthly installments. I don't have the exact dollar amount. I can get that for you guys, but they are not paid in full at this point. No, we're still holding money.
As a board and from your seat, Rob, that we're getting exactly what we spec'd out and what we approved. And I believe you're our guy to lead us for that, correct?
Yep. I'll be working with you guys. The designers, as well as is on board. They know the position, and we've met. We're waiting to see what some options are that we have, and we can take it from there and see what options we have. So there will be no more funds paid to them at this point as far as anything that's outstanding. So we should, and it's something, I mean, it's top priority. So we are expecting a response here in the next couple of days from them. So it's something we want to try to get resolved here, and come up with a solution, whatever that solution ends up being. Try to come up with that solution quick and get it resolved for you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Rob. We appreciate your update, and look forward to seeing that in the email soon, okay?
Yep. Thank you.
All right, moving on to number 2, item F number 2, and this is our presentation by our COLT leadership team. This is the extended COVID-19 learning plan. Who will be presenting tonight?
So I'm going to start by reintroducing the COLT leadership team. So it is basically the same team that we started with when we started our preparedness plan. This is yet another requirement by the state of Michigan. So we do have Dr. Baker Herring. She and I will be doing the presentation tonight, but that does not mean that we did not have help. Wendy Nowak, our technology director, Jason Martin, the principal at Ford Line, Renee Chilton, the principal at Allen, and Andrew Himmick, the principal at Grogan, were heavily involved right from the start. And so this is our extended COVID-19 learning plan.
Supposed to have a drum roll or something?
I'm waiting for, yeah, there we go.
Sorry, I also couldn't get unmuted. All right, so just as a reminder, when I present, I don't see you guys. So Jill, when I move to your section, you might have to remind me to flip the screen.
Okay.
All right, so again, like the superintendent said, this is the newest legislation that was approved by the governor on August 20th. And this new legislation requires all districts to develop an extended COVID-19 plan. And so this plan has additional assurances that we're required to address. And so we're going to highlight some of those aspects in our presentation tonight. So the first part of the timeline, we are required as a district to establish goals for benchmark assessments no later than September 15th, which we did do that. That will be presented here in the next slide. And then we will have to have our entire extended COVID-19 plan approved by the board and posted on the transparency reporting link on the district webpage by October 1st. So one of the assurances that are in this extended plan is that within the first 9 weeks of school, all students K-8 will be assessed in reading and math. At the same time, we also have legislation that says all students in grades K through 3 will be assessed in reading due to the Read by Grade 3 law within the first 30 days of school. So it is our intent to ensure that all students are assessed in reading and math in the first 30 days of the school year. And that testing is, I believe, actually some began today. So our goals, we have set up using our NWA map of growth assessments, which we've been using the last couple of years. So we are, goal number 1 is that all students K-11 will improve their performance in reading from fall to spring and measured by that NWA map growth assessment. And then also goal number 2, students K through 11 will improve their performance in mathematics from fall to spring as measured by the NWA map growth assessment. The plan requires us to describe to everyone what our, how we will give instruction. So obviously we are starting our school year remotely and or virtually, depending on what path the parents chose. And that was described in the previous plan that we shared in August. The other piece of this plan requires that districts ensure that all students have technology and internet if needed. And we were actually able to do that before the start of school. And I think at this point, we all want to, we know that was not a small feat. And I want to take a moment to publicly thank Wendy Nowak and the entire technology department for truly working around the clock, nights, weekends, all day, all night, unwiring the Chromebooks and assigning them to students and organizing the distribution. And it really came together nicely, and all students, if they needed a device, they had a device to start the school year. So kudos to that department and Wendy. And they continue to amaze us by offering Tech Tuesdays. So they actually started last week, but it's going to be every Tuesday through October 6th from 8 to 5. They're providing an opportunity for parents and families to get some tech support. So right outside the technology entrance at the high school, they'll be able to help parents and students with, Chromebook, internet login, and all of that. So again, kudos to that department. And the last slide for me, basically, we have to make sure, and we continue to do this, we've always done this, that our general education, special education teachers are collaborating to address any accommodations or services that are needed for our students if there's any changes in their needs based on their IEP. And then also special services did set up learning labs during this time so that students who are up for reevaluation, they need to be assessed, that their teacher will invite them into the building so that they will be able to take those assessments. They're not always the most friendly atmosphere for a virtual environment. So they have set up those opportunities by appointment where students are able to come in and be assessed, as well as those students who were suspected of having a disability. They'll be able to do those evaluations through the Learning Lab opportunity as well.
So the continuation is, even if we decided to go back face-to-face, every school district in the state of Michigan has to follow this timeline, which means no later than February 1st of 2021. The district has to do a progress report on the goals that were posted on the transparency page. And they also have to report no later than the last day of school on the progress for the end of the year. They also have to look at and post it on the regional data hub. And again, this is no matter if COVID were gone tomorrow, we have to do this all year. And any time in the last or the first 9 weeks and before the last day of school, again, we have to do the benchmark assessment testing. The other assurance that we want to call out for you, Michelle, if you go to the next slide. The other assurance that we need to call out to you is that in consultation with the health department, we have to develop guidelines concerning the appropriate methods to deliver instruction. And the Wayne County Health Department has presented to the superintendents on 2 occasions a graph that they continue to change. So I'm not showing you this because it's a little premature at this point, but really we have to look at the key metrics, and those are the metrics that are below. So the COVID cases, the positive cases, hospitalizations, deaths, cases per 1 million, the COVID tests over the last 4 weeks, the capacity, and testing and containment. So for an example, last Friday, I gathered the data from Wayne County. And although, Michelle, although this is not the exact metric that hopefully we'll be able to show you at the next board meeting, these are the results, and you can see the dates there from September the 6th through the 12th. So for example, in Wayne County, there were 740 cases, and we were at 5.9% positivity rate, and the occupancy rate, according to the Wayne County Health Department, was at 77%. So again, these are things that we have to assure that we're looking at. A 73.3% hospital rate for ICUs. The testing capacity was at 3,153 daily tests per million. And then the outbreak or events in Wayne County are 0. According to the Wayne County Health Department, in any health department, an outbreak is considered to be 2 cases in any one place or building. So the thing that we have to do is that every 30 days after this plan is approved, we have to meet publicly. The board has to reaffirm the delivery of instruction. So will we be meeting in face-to-face, remotely, or a hybrid model? The board has to reaffirm that every 30 days. We have to solicit public comment and how that instruction is going to be delivered. And we have to publicly announce the two-way interaction rates at the meeting and posted that on our transparency link. So we were, in the original preparedness plan, we were planning to come to the board on October the 13th. And so on October the 13th, the plan is we would come with the two-way interaction percentages. Hopefully we would have the metric a little more refined from the Wayne County Health Department, and then we have to solicit public comment. So we are required to do that every 30 days. So the plan at this point is to have it as a standing agenda item at the first board meeting of every month in order to stay within those 30 days. What questions do you have?
Thank you so much, Jill, and the entire Colt leadership team and technology department for all your hard work. Do any board members have any comments or questions for staff at this time?
I just want to say thank you, as well as Dr. Baker-Herring, for all the hard work that you guys are putting into this, and then for us to review it every 30 days to see where we stand. I think that's a lot to be said for what goes into that. So thank you again for staff and administrators.
I just have one question. I was going to ask about the Chromebooks, and it sounds like that went really well. Congratulations. The question I have is just on attendance. How are we tracking? Are we getting the attendance and the participation we were hoping for?
We actually are. We have 2 ways that we're tracking attendance. So teachers are taking attendance when they have their live sessions, but also for those students that did not show up for one of those live sessions, they've also made a connection with that student, whether it be a phone call, a text message, or an email, and that's called a two-way interaction. So that is what we have to report out on. So teachers are taking attendance live when they show up, as well as anytime they communicate or have an interaction with students. And we have a few percentages. We're working with Debbie Begeman to help us create a report. Right now, the reports are not, Risa said they're just not ready yet for us to use, but trying to pull a report to find the percentages. And right now, of the buildings that have posted, it's in the 90s. 90% of our students are interacting with their teachers.
So on an interesting note, a week of attendance is not Monday through Friday like you would typically believe. It's a Wednesday to Tuesday. So it's a little bit even challenging for us to make sure we keep track of because it's not traditional.
Thank you.
right, anybody else? All right, thank you so much again. And we're going to move on now to item G, which is our consent agenda, which consists of minutes from the September 8th, 2020 meeting and our HR update.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you,
Support.
Dr. Pamponio, and Mr. Craig supports that. All right. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Husky, will you roll call vote that, please?
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Lamos,
Yes.
Dr. Pomponio,
Yes.
Mr. Sage,
Yes.
Mr. Craig,
Yes.
Mr. Estheimer,
Yes.
Mr. Freitas.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Moving on to item H, our action. We just heard from our COLT leadership team. So action item 1 is actually what we just went over, most of that in depth. This is approval of the extended COVID-19 learning plan.
All right, you're being asked to approve the Southgate Community School District COVID-19 extended COVID-19 learning plan as presented. This plan states that all students will attend school remotely and/or virtually. This plan will be posted to our transparency reporting link on our district website by October 1st, 2020. As required by House Bill 5913, we will plan to meet every 30 days to reconfirm delivery of instruction.
Any questions for staff?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I'd just like to make it clear for the viewing audience, there has been, I know, questions or at least some emails to me and some of the parent page. I am a parent, so I do look on the parent page asking if we were approving going back to school tonight. And I want to make it clear that this board had made a decision that the first semester we were staying virtual and looking at the numbers and following the Wayne County Health Department guidelines and the rules that were given to us through the state, in all honesty, at the very last minute. So there is not a decision today. So as the motion reads, I know it says virtually or hybrid. That's the motion we have to present to the state, or that's what we have to present to the state. On the October 13th meeting, we will be revisiting where such numbers are and the guidance from Wayne County and discussing at that point if the November return date is going to be accurate. So that's not what's happening tonight. Tonight is just the approval of the learning plan that's required by the state. So I just want to make that very clear for those that are viewing in the audience. Thank you.
Thanks for the clarification. Any other questions for staff? All right. And would somebody like to make a motion for action item 1?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the Southgate Community School District extended COVID-19 learning plan as presented.
Thank you, Dr. Paponio. Do we have a second?
Support.
I heard Mr. Lamas first.
I'm not sure who that was, but either way.
All right. And any further discussion on this item? Hearing none. Ms. Grahowski, will you call the question, please?
Mr. Lamos,
Yes.
Dr. Pomponio,
Yes.
Mr. Sage,
Yes.
Mr. Craig,
Yes.
Mr. Estheimer,
Yes.
Mr. Freitas,
Yes.
Mr. Green.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Now we're on to action item number 2. As many of you know, our superintendent is retiring. So this is an approval of the superintendent search timeline. We're meeting in committee right now, but this is an action item to help direct that committee and open this up to the public so they understand exactly what's going on and as transparent as can be. Who will be presenting this? Want me to read this? All right, Ms. Pastor.
All right, you're being asked to approve the timeline below for the superintendent search. This superintendent search will be conducted with due regard to the Michigan Open Meetings Public Act 267 of 1976, requirement of open meetings for all public body deliberations, decisions, and interviews.
Thank you so much. Any questions for staff? All right, seeing none. Someone would like to please make a motion for action item number 2.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Craig.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the superintendent search timeline that's been presented here.
Thank you, Mr. Craig. Is there a second?
Support.
Support by Dr. Pamponio. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Please call the question, Ms. Grohowski.
Mr. Lamos,
Yes.
Dr. Pomponio,
Yes.
Mr. Sage,
Yes.
Mr. Craig,
Yes.
Mr. Estheimer,
Yes.
Mr. Freitas,
Yes.
Mr. Green.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Motion carries. And just to be clear on that, the application was posted on September 9th, and the deadline, the closing date is September 30th. All right, item I, employee representatives. Do we have any employee representatives that wish to speak or that have signed up to speak tonight, Ms. Pastor?
No.
All right, anybody with us here today that wishes to speak in attendance right now? No? All right, on to item J, information and announcements. Anybody?
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr.
thank you for the floor. I would just like to say that a number of items, very briefly. One, hopefully that the kinks that are being worked out by those of you at home and the struggles that you have, we realize this isn't for everybody. We realize this wasn't an easy answer. Everybody's trying to do their best, including parents, and we're trying to do, and I know a lot of people don't agree with us, what we feel is best in following the state guidelines. So congratulations, because the parents, the teachers, the administration, the whole city of Southgate is on, hopefully working together. So that's one. Two, I'd like to send my condolences to the Southgate community. We lost a student in an unfortunate accident. I will not, release any names, obviously, but those of you that know who this student is and the family and the community, condolences to that family and to this entire community on that part. I'm happy to see some sort of normalcy, and hopefully everything can work out with the MHSAA made their decision. That is not a decision that this board makes. The MHSAA makes that decision in the rules within. And congratulations to the sports teams that have started, and hopefully continue to be safe and be able to inch us back toward normalcy. And finally, it is a pretty heavy heart in a lot of ways also, that this is the second person that I have worked with being on this board as a superintendent that I respect immensely in this situation of COVID. Nothing against any other superintendent in the area. I wouldn't trade our superintendent working us through this and her team for anybody. And she's been there, and her and I have agreed. We disagreed. It's been respectful, and she is a wonderful person. And I'm really sorry to see her go, but I understand it, and I wish her the best in her retirement. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other information announcements? I'll just mention tonight was we have free marching band clinics going on right now. This was shared with me. So tonight actually was the first one for percussion. Their Percussion Tuesdays. It's going on from September 22nd through the first week of November. Wins are on Thursday, so this coming Thursday from 4 to 5. The color guards also Thursday from 5 to 8. This is open to any 8th through 12th grade student, no experience necessary. So if you enjoy trying out marching band for the first time or just sharpen your skills at these weekly clinics, they're available to you. And with that, I will take a motion for adjournment.
No one wants to leave. So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Lamas. And who wants to second that?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Pamponio. All those, go ahead, Ms. Grohowski.
Dr. Pomponio,
Yes.
Mr. Sage,
Yes.
Mr. Craig,
Yes.
Mr. Estheimer,
Yes.
Mr. Freitas,
Yes.
Mr. Green.
Okay, yes.
Mr. Lamo,
I'm sorry.
Mr. Lamos.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. My apologies. Yes.
Oh,
All right, we are adjourned at 7:45 p.m.